I'm Megan,
I'm Christy.
and we are
Homebrew.
Murder Crew. Microbrews. Yes, here we are.
Hi.
Microbrewskis.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Coming off a real
Sorry.
depressing episode here that Megan
I'm
just brought
so
us.
sorry.
It's okay. So our microbrews always come out before our full-length episode, so definitely be sure to listen on Thursday for Megan's episode 76. It's a doozy, but it's very good. It was very well done, Megan. Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, sad, but a story that needs to be told nonetheless.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's dark history. So it's a little different. We love it when those ones pop up. But
we do. Sometimes we need a break from all the murder.
I know, and it's not like this is any happier or anything, but it's a different genre of things that are wrong with the world that we can talk about. So yeah. This one being microbrew, we're just gonna pop on into it. This one is true crime paranormal.
Ooh, I mean, ooh.
So, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right.
What you got first?
Okay, so we're going to start this off in a story style here.
Okay.
So the investigation had gone cold 6 months after a brutal murder in a high-rise Chicago apartment complex. Detectives were drowning in dead ends, unanswered questions, and the gnawing frustration of knowing a killer walked free. The forensic trail was obscured by smoke and calculated deception. The rational world of police procedure had failed. The case had been stubbornly unsolved for months, appearing to offer no chance of resolution. But what if the only person who possessed the uncompromised truth, the name of the murderer, the true motive, and the exact location of the stolen evidence, what if that person was the victim herself? The story today of Teresita Basa is not merely a chronicle of violence, but a unique collision between scientific police work and the profound realms of the impossible. This extraordinary event resulted in a truly sensational investigation and trial where not only murder, but belief was up for debate. Forcing a United States court of law to contend with the testimony provided by a voice that seemed to speak from beyond the grave.
Ooh, this sounds like a good book. I want to read it. Or a good movie. I want to watch it.
Yeah. So I think that we'll talk about some pop culture moments, maybe. I think I looked into it and it wasn't anything like notable to me, but yeah, we'll get there. So Teresita Basa was a 48-year-old respiratory therapist. She led a professional life centered around Edgewater Hospital in Chicago. She was a fixture in the medical community, residing in Pine Grove apartment complex. Her ordinary routine established a seemingly safe background against which the subsequent violence appeared even more shocking. Now, I don't know if an ordinary routine would necessarily save you from violence, because I feel like if you're too routine, then you're more susceptible.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so true, because then people, if somebody's watching you or stalking you, then they're going to know your every move.
Yeah, you got to keep things fresh.
Yes.
Right? So, on the evening of Monday, February 21st, 1977, Teresita's life was abruptly and brutally ended. A detailed reconstruction of her final hours indicates she received at least 2 phone calls between 7:10 p.m. and 7:50 p.m., with one conversation lasting approximately 20 minutes. This chronology established a narrow window for the crime, which you'll see why in a second, suggesting that the killer was either admitted into her apartment immediately following the last phone call or had been present during it. The alarm was raised around 8:40 p.m., so about an hour later, when neighbors reported smelling smoke. Firefighters alerted by a maintenance worker who used a pass key to grant access responded to the 15th floor of Basa's building. After extinguishing a small, deliberate fire set beneath a pile of burning clothes and a mattress, they discovered the horrifying scene. Teresita's nude body was found, stabbed with a kitchen knife, still protruding through her chest.
Oh, no.
Ugh. The apartment had clearly been ransacked. Initial police assumptions focused on a sexual assault or a robbery gone wrong due to the staging of the body and the disarray of the apartment. Medical officials later determined that Teresita had not been sexually assaulted, which confirmed that the staging was intended to be a red herring and deceive investigators. So by stripping her body and posing the scene, the perpetrator hoped to deflect attention from anyone known to the victim, making the crime scene appear more random or motivated by passion or rather than premeditation.
So the case was assigned to this.
I know. The case was assigned to Detective Joe Stachula and Lee Eplin. They faced immediate challenges. The fire damage had compromised potential physical evidence like fingerprints and fibers. Remember, it's the 70s. There's not much that they can do with DNA or anything like that. That's kind of like the crux of their entire investigation. Furthermore, the absence of forced entry strongly suggested that Teresita knew her assailant or that the killer possessed legitimate means of entry, such as the building's maintenance staff. The investigators would find themselves 6 months deep into a frustratingly fruitless investigation. Despite interviewing family members, friends, coworkers, the police were left with few tangible clues. A handwritten note was found in Basa's journal, but investigators put little stock in that right away. The lack of a clear suspect or motive meant the investigation stalled quickly and going cold for 5 frustrating months. The calculated staging of the scene, intended to obscure the true motive of robbery, succeeded in misleading investigators until an unexpected source intervened.
Interesting.
In August of 1977, so 5 months after the murder, the investigation experienced a radical shift. This change centered on Remy Chua, who was a nurse at Edgewater Hospital, and a coworker of Teresita's. Remy, now I don't know, sources, I can't really find how close they were or if they like worked directly or indirectly or how often, I don't know. But Remy began to suffer a series of intense dramatic episodes, sometimes described as epileptic in nature. And during these episodes, a voice distinct from her own began to speak, claiming to be the spirit of Teresita Basa. Remy's husband was Dr. Chua, and so Dr. Chua worked at the hospital too. Remy Chua and her husband, Dr. Chua, had claimed that she began dreaming of Teresita, and in her dreams, Teresita would beg her to go to the police and tell them what happened. And they believed that this was Teresita's attempt to help solve her own murder. It was said that Teresita would even speak through Remy in her own native language of Tagalog, which she was familiar with, but like Remy was familiar with it, but she didn't speak it often. And it should be noted that Remy, like both Remy and Teresita, were both of Filipino descent. So in her sleep one night, Remy spoke that the man who killed Teresita Basa was named Alan Showery. And apparently on the day of her death, he had come to her apartment to repair her television. Showery was a man who also worked at Edgewater Hospital with Teresita and Remy. And when she awoke, Remy said that she could not recall any of what she had said in her sleep. So she's just going on what her husband says that she said. Yeah.
Fucking Alan.
Fucking Alan. When I heard Alan Showery, all I thought was Alan Shyback.
Alan Shyback.
Yes.
Right?
Literally, like, fucking, oh man. Flashback to episode 1.
Yeah. 4 years ago.
Yeah. So The fact that both Teresita and Remy were Filipino is essential to understanding kind of the gravity of the situation as perceived by Remy's husband, Joe Chua, or Dr. Chua, because in the Philippines, cultural frameworks exist for interpreting events like these, where spirit possession or sapi is understood as a potential reality. So this cultural context would explain why Joe Chua didn't immediately dismiss his wife's manifestations as purely medical or psychological, or she's fucking batshit crazy. Like he truly did believe what she was experiencing. And that's a fucking power couple right there. Let me just say.
That is for sure.
Like, you cannot convince me otherwise. So he took these manifestations very seriously, enough so to realize that they represented the only active lead in the cold case. So now we know that Teresita's alleged spirit is Alan Showery. So the spiritual informant went further, revealing the actual motive, robbery, correcting the detective's initial focus on sexual assault. Crucially, the spirit provided various specific details about the disposition of the stolen property. Through Remy, Teresita claimed Showery had taken her jewelry, including a distinctive locket, and had subsequently given these stolen items to his girlfriend or wife. This highly specific, non-public information, so details only the victim and the killer would know, transformed the seemingly bizarre psychic claim into a verifiable investigative tip. So the strength of the spirit's information rested entirely on this specialized knowledge. Naming the killer was insufficient for police action, but linking the killer to specific traceable stolen goods and their precise location elevated the claim beyond the realm of paranormal speculation. So the ghost had given police a necessary pathway to circumvent the evidentiary roadblocks created by the staged crime scene and the arson. So now they can go and say, like, there's items missing.
Yeah.
And, you look for them.
Yeah.
When Detective Joe Stachula received the information for Remy's husband, Joe Chua, he was faced with an extraordinary legal challenge. How do you translate an alleged communication from a dead person into the necessary legal foundation for obtaining a search warrant under the Fourth Amendment? So after all, probable cause demands credible facts, not paranormal beliefs.
Yeah.
Stachula and his team executed a masterful, pragmatic legal strategy. They decided to strip away the spiritual wrapper and focus exclusively on the core factual data. The search warrant affidavit did not mention a ghost. Rather, it was framed around the highly reliable, detailed statements provided by a civilian informant, which is Remy Chua, conveyed by Joe Chua, regarding the specific missing items and their location. So this maneuver allowed the police to pursue the lead without having to prove the existence of Teresita's spirit. The court was simply presented with an informant, cutting out the middleman here, offering highly detailed facts about the disposition of the property stolen during a felony, a scenario compelling enough to justify the warrant. My only issue with this is, wouldn't she then seem suspicious?
Yeah.
As to like, why you know exactly what went missing.
Yeah, for sure.
And allegedly who has it, like, without being involved somehow.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
That would be suspicious to me.
Yeah. So the execution of the search warrant at Alan Showery's residence was the point of no return. The search immediately verified the claims made through Remy Chua. Teresita Basa's missing jewelry was recovered, and critically, the distinctive locket was located. The recovery of these personal identifying items, some found in the possession of Showery's family members, provided the irrefutable physical link between Showery and the murder scene. The killer's greatest error was failing to dispose of this sentimental property, the one detail the victim's voice used to lead police directly to him.
Interesting. That's common. That's common that it's the trophies that they take that usually that will probably get you caught.
Oh yeah. Very, very implicating things.
Imagine finding out that you had been gifted something from somebody that you care about, and then finding out that they had killed the person and stole it from them and given it to you. Like,
Oh,
my
it
God.
would be such a gross feeling.
Oh God.
It'd be
Would
so
be for
gross.
sure. I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine wearing something and then finding out that it was stolen from a person that was murdered.
That you murdered, like your
That
significant other
yeah.
murdered or whatever.
Yeah. Like my
Oh,
boyfriend gave me a necklace that was from somebody he murdered. Like that's fucked.
right. Or like my fiance proposed to me with this vintage
Oh my
ring, but like
God.
he actually murdered the woman and cut her finger off to obtain it.
Yeah. I'm sure it's happened.
Oh, 100% it has for sure.
Yeah.
So confronted with the physical evidence that proved he was present at the scene and had committed the robbery, Alan crumbled like a little bitch.
Mm-hmm.
He provided a full confession, admitting that the robbery escalated into murder and confirming his subsequent attempt to cover the crime scene by setting a fire.
Oh
So
my
the
God.
ensuing legal proceedings were sensational, widely dubbed, quote, the voice from the grave trial,
Right.
end quote. The prosecution based its case on the confession and the recovered physical evidence. However, in contrast to how they dealt with obtaining the search warrant, citing Remy as simply some sort of informant, Remy's bizarre testimony was required in order to establish the timeline of the investigation. So that's where I was saying, like, how do you, how do you explain that she has all this knowledge,
Yeah.
without being
About
party to it, you know? So that's where she had to go on the stand and tell her tale of this voice.
I'm
which
just
is
in awe. Like I
crazy.
can't even imagine this. Like
Mhm.
I feel like she had to have like had a connection to him, and he told her. Like that's crazy.
Right.
I know that she
So,
like we
yeah, I
want to
mean, I
try
don't
to
want to believe
explain
that, but yeah,
logically explain things, right? Like
right. So the initial trial resulted in a mistrial. Shocking. This outcome highlights the profound difficulty of introducing testimony based on spiritual possession into a standard legal proceeding, even when backed by hard evidence. The defense likely focused on discrediting Remy Chua, creating enough reasonable doubt about the integrity of the investigative lead to prevent a unanimous verdict. However, facing a guaranteed second trial and the overwhelming weight of his own signed confession and the recovered locket, Alan Showery changed his strategy. He pleaded guilty to all three crimes: murder, armed robbery, and arson. And Showery was
geez.
subsequently sentenced to
Oh God, I'm scared. 2 years.
14 years in prison.
Oh, that doesn't seem like
14
enough.
years.
That's more than what I thought they would have given
Because
them.
isn't that like, what do they call that? An aggravating factor is when you commit murder after an armed robbery.
Oh,
right? Like he's
yeah.
admitting that his purpose for being there was
The robbery.
and which results in a murder. That's an aggravating factor, which would tack on, I guess. Maybe he got double. Maybe he was supposed to only get 7 years and he got 14.
That's wild.
Oh my God.
That's not enough time for taking somebody's life, though.
No, but again, no buts. No buts.
No buts? Okay.
The Teresita Basa case remains an extraordinary outlier in American jurisprudence. It is critical to understand that the case didn't create a precedent for allowing spiritual testimony in court. Instead, it forcefully demonstrated a principle of criminal procedure. The source of an investigative tip is legally secondary to the quality of the physical evidence produced by that tip. The court was able to send a man to jail for murder because the bizarre tip led directly to concrete, admissible proof that compelled a confession.
That's wild.
Legal scholars sometimes cite this case when discussing the doctrine of dying declarations, the idea that a victim's statement before death holds exceptional truth value. The Basa case pushes this concept to its extreme, confirming that unorthodox sources of information, even those born of deep religious or spiritual belief, can be leveraged legally, provided that they generate evidence verifiable by rational means. So it's not circumstantial evidence that came to fruition. It was like physical evidence. The stolen items are there.
Yeah.
So
and then he
this is
pled guilty.
Well, you wrote a confession. You confessed to it, number one, and then your first trial, you pleaded innocent or not guilty. Mistrial, which totally understand. You need a really good case if it's paranormal in nature, of like the ghosts told me, in order for So I get it, but so the sensational nature of the case ensured its lasting legacy, inspiring publications like Ebony, widespread news coverage, and eventually a 1996 television film titled Voice from the Grave. The film, based on an unsolved mysteries segment, featured Kevin Dobson playing the role of Detective Joe Statula. Despite the conviction, the question of whether the supernatural was truly involved persists. The specific details provided by the spirit, like identifying the exact item stolen, the identity of the recipient, and the fact that the crime was robbery, not sexual assault, were facts not made public by police. Skepticism struggles to explain how Remy Chua or her husband could have rationally acquired such intimate knowledge of the crime and the killer's personal life without ever having admitted it to investigators during the 5 months the case was cold. Wow. The enduring fascination with the Teresita Basa murder is predicated on this very point, because law enforcement never publicly produced a purely rational explanation for Remy Chua's knowledge. For instance, Teresita having confided in her about an issue with Showery, or Remy seeing Showery leave the apartment. The paranormal element remains the most potent, if unbelievable, explanation for the investigative breakthrough. So I'm still curious.
Yeah.
Again, because this is a microbrew, it was not a deep dive.
No.
Okay. So I'd be curious to know if, like, how Remy was questioned with regards to her knowledge, and like, because you would be like, like you were there, honey, like you were there. You and Alan you guys are boinking behind the scenes, and you, honey, like, so I'm wondering where that conversation is.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe everything that you just said is right.
Well, it must be, if, like, she never got implicated in any of it. So
I just believed that she heard, wow. I mean, maybe it's true.
But I mean, like, well, it's her husband that heard her saying all this stuff. So it's like, are they in cahoots? Because she would wake up and she had no recollection of what she said, or that she even said anything.
That's weird too.
Maybe didn't know this was happening, if not for her husband being like,
Adam,
babe, you're saying some really fucking weird shit in your sleep, man. Like,
maybe her husband was the one that was like in cahoots with him.
Maybe.
And then he felt guilty and was like, oh, I need to somehow pin this on this guy.
Yeah. And then, like, babe, you're like talking in your sleep about this crazy shit. Like,
yeah, this is what you were saying.
Teresita's trying to solve her murder.
Maybe. Who knows? That's crazy though. Weird.
Crazy. Anyways, that's my microbrew.
Yeah, see, Martin talks in his sleep. But he's never said any shit like that. But now I'll be listening extra hard just in case, writing it all down.
I had a friend whose husband, was it her or her husband, would talk in their sleep, and then they would say some wild shit and the stories of what they would say.
Oh, I love that.
For him, it was
I love it.
And then they'd be like having conversations back and forth. Like, I feel like it was him talking in his sleep. So then she'd start asking him questions about what he's talking about, and he'd be responding like in his sleep.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny. I love it. I sometimes try to screw with Martin, but he usually ends up waking up.
That's no fun. Just knock him out.
Yeah.
Just kidding. So, next week, I think we're gonna have some exciting news for you guys next week. I think because Megan and I are meeting on Thursday this week.
We
for
are
something special.
Yes, we are. Yay!
And we'll direct you to where it says to where to find that. Next week.
Yeah.
So
stay tuned. I don't know. Maybe we might be making it up. I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe it'll never happen.
Maybe. Who knows?
No,
We'll see.
All
right. I think we're getting a little crazy.
It's been fun. All right. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Christy. That was amazing.
Thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.